Hey guys, Sean from Bantam Overland. Today we are proud to announce our brand new plug and play bundle for your Jeep JK featuring the Kicker 5-channel amp with your choice of 8-inch, 10-inch, or 12-inch downfiring sub box. So included in our bundle is the Kicker CXA 660.5 Kicker Power Wire Kit already pre-terminated for you. Kicker 6-channel RCAs pre-marked so there can be no mistake of where to plug those in. You're going to get our exclusive Bantam Overland plug and play harness for Maestro compatible aftermarket radios. You're going to get your subwoofer wire also pre-terminated, as well as a Kicker Y adapter in case your aftermarket radio only has one subwoofer pre-out. Also, we send you all necessary accessories, including wire ties, industrial Velcro, and a male and female bullet to connect your remote wire. So let's go over some of the features and benefits of using a downfiring box. So Kicker has created 3 models, an 8, a 10, and a 12. Each one will give you increasingly more bass, but also take up very little space. So these all have one subwoofer and one passive radiator. The reason they do the passive radiator is it actually gives you more output in less space in a smaller enclosure. So think of it as actually having 2 8s or 2 10s or 2 12s for the back of your Jeep. Now all these enclosures are rated at 2 ohms, which will go perfectly and give you the most output out of our Kicker amplifier. So when adding a 5-channel amplifier to your system, we're going to be amplifying both front and rear speakers, as well as the subwoofer, and we'll go over all the connections during the install. So now that we've gone over everything that's included in our Kicker plug and play bundle for your JK, we'll go over the tools necessary to complete the installation, and then we can start getting into it. So first, you're going to want to have some sort of screw gun, as well as an assortment of attachments, a Phillips head screwdriver, a 7mm, as well as a 10mm socket, some sort of panel removal tool, as well as a light, a 1/8-inch Allen head. There will also be one inside the amplifier box, a small screwdriver for tuning the amplifier, a pair of cutters or dikes to cut off any extra wire tie remnants. You're going to want a wire fish or some sort of metal hanger to get your power wire from the battery area inside the Jeep. And to remove our seat, we're going to need a impact gun or socket wrench with an 18mm socket, as well as a T45 Torx to remove the seat belt from the side of the seat. So now we've gone over all of our tools, we can go ahead and begin the disassembly of our Jeep. Now we can begin with the process of disassembling our Jeep for the install. I like to start with removing my passenger seat. To do that, you're going to remove 4 18mm bolts holding the bottom of the seat, as well as 1 T45 holding in the seat belt. From there, we're going to move to removing the glove box, as well as removing the sill plates. So for the installation, you do not have to remove the seat. You will still have to remove the 4 18mm bolts to lean the seat back. I just prefer to remove the seat entirely. So let's go ahead, get all of our bolts out, get our glove box out, as well as our sill plate, so we can begin our installation. So I've got my 18mm on my impact gun. You can also use a socket wrench if that's all you have. We're going to go ahead and remove the 2 bolts in the front of the seat, and then we're going to move to the back of the seat. So let's get those front 2 bolts out. So put them in a safe place, put them up by the cup holder. Now we're just going to slide the seat forward and remove the 2 bolts out of the rear. So now that the seat is unbolted, I like to remove the headrest. It just makes it easier to pull the seat out and remove. And then we have one more bolt we need to take out. It is a T45 that's holding the seat belt to the seat itself, as well as one plug that is underneath the seat that will have to be unplugged as well. So let's get this T45 out, seat flipped up, and the plug unplugged. We're just going to slide the fabric back, and that will reveal the T45 that holds the seat belt in. So we can go ahead and get that removed. So get that bolt removed and remove the seat belt, and then go ahead and just slide that bolt right back in just for safekeeping. From there, we can go ahead, slide the seat back and lean it up to reveal our plug that we're gonna need to remove. So there's a red stop here. Now that's actually what holds the plug in together. We're gonna slide that down. You're gonna hear a click, then you're gonna depress the yellow button on the plug and then slide off to remove the seat. From there, just go ahead, pick it up and take it out. So now we have our seat out. Next, we need to remove our sill plate as well as our glove box. As far as the glove box, just drop it down, push it in on either side, and just pull it straight out. So now we need to remove our sill plate here. We need to remove 2 pop clips, one here, one here. Just gently take your panel removal tool, get under there, and just pry up, setting that in a safe spot. And go ahead and remove the rear one, same way, and pull up, setting that one in a safe spot. Now to remove, you're gonna pull out just a hair, pulling up on the back side to release, pop it out and remove. Now you'll have these little clips that hold into the side. Just confirm and double check that you have 2 of those in there and they're not stuck on the body of the Jeep. So now our passenger area is prepped for the install. Next, we're gonna go ahead, remove our head unit and get that ready to run our RCAs as well as our plug-and-play speaker harness. We need to remove a couple of panels as well as 4 screws. We're gonna remove the lower panel below the steering column. That will reveal 2 screws. We'll need to remove the window switch, or in some cases you'll have a pocket that will have 1 screw behind it, as well as on top of the dash, we'll remove our plastic insert and there'll be 1 up there. So to remove this lower panel, just gently pull and lift out. That will reveal these 2 7mm. Once those 2 are removed, you're going to grab your either plastic or metal panel popper, gently stick underneath the pocket or the window switch, pull out, then you're going to push and release. And there is 1 screw on the inside. Go ahead and remove that. And then the last one is on top of the dash. Just remove the insert and remove the 1 screw on top. Now that we've gotten all of our bolts out of our dash, it's time to remove that top part of the dash. So I like to just put my steering wheel down, lock it back in, and just gently pull it out, releasing it all the way, lifting it up, and just getting it up and out of my way. Once we remove the dash, it'll reveal the 4 bolts holding in the radio. So once we get these 4 bolts out, the radio will come out. So now all 4 bolts are out. We can gently lay our radio to the side. Head unit is out. We need to make some connections to the back of the head unit. Again, doesn't matter what brand head unit you have, as long as you are using the Maestro MRR, that is the only concern. So on our Sony 9000, we have 3 RCA pre-outs. We have our front, our rear, and our subwoofer. We have our speaker connections from our iDataLink Maestro, as well as we have our remote turn on. Now this obviously is from Bantam Overland, so we have already installed the female bullet connector on the remote lead. If you have another brand, we do include a male and female bullet connector for you, just in case you don't have one. As far as connections, we have our speaker harness connection. So we'll be running the side with the white and black 4-pin, as well as the male remote lead. So for that, we're gonna go up in between the glove box and behind the dash, and then through here. So we'll go ahead and get that run. So we'll get it into the dash, and then we're gonna go behind this metal plate here. And we're mainly doing that so we don't cut any of the wires or nick anything. So it's more just to be safe. So next we'll take our RCAs and we'll do the same thing. Now these RCAs are labeled for what they are. This happens to be the subwoofer left and right. So now we're going to take our RCAs, run them the same way we ran our speaker wire, just into the dash. Just be gentle when pulling them through. So we've got all of them. And then again, go behind the metal brace in the dash, pulling them all the way through. So let's start making some connections. We're going to start with our speaker wire connections and our Maestro harness. So you notice we have on ours, we have a white and a black. The white is the front, the black is the rear. Now you'll have a little bit of difference on the Maestro harness. They actually use a white and a green. Don't worry about that. I'll show you exactly how to hook that up. So we're going to go ahead, unplug our Maestro harness. We do not want to use the side coming from the radio. We want to use the side going towards the vehicle. So you'll notice this white plug has white, white with black, gray, and gray with black. They will match on the white plug that is provided in the bundle. So you can go ahead and click that in, make sure you hear that click. Now on the rear, we will go ahead and use our black plug. Now the wiring may look different here, but down here you'll notice that it is the green, green with black, purple, purple, black. Go ahead and plug that side in. Now our factory speaker wires can be used in the installation, and that's what our amp will run through, is our factory speaker wires. So now that we have those wired up, you'll have a blue wire with a male bullet on it. Again, if you bought your bundle from Bantam Overland, it will already have the female bullet on there. If not, again, we provide a male and female bullet connector. So connecting those, push in, just making sure that there is no metal exposed. And we're going to put this back inside the dash and get it out of our way for now. Now it's time to make our RCA connections. So on some radios, you may only have one subwoofer output. So that's when you're going to use the Y adapter provided for you in the bundle. This one, our Sony 9000, we don't need to use that. So we're going to start with our front inputs. So we have our front left and right. Right is always going to be red. Left is always going to be white. Now on our kicker RCAs, we'll just find our front RCAs, and that will be labeled FL and FR. So for front left, we're going to connect the white RCA to the gray RCA that says FL. Plug that side in. And for our front right, we're going to find the RCA that says FR and plug that blue one into the red. So now our fronts are connected. We'll move on to the rear. Again, white and red. So we'll find our RCAs that are marked with the RL and the RR for rear left and rear right. So again, rear left, gray will plug into white, and blue will plug into red. So those are done, and now we have our subwoofer. Now your subwoofer may look different than this one, but the process is still the same. We'll find our subwoofer RCAs labeled with SL, SR. Now in this case, they're both black. We can just go ahead and plug them into either. If your RCAs are still white with red, you're going to plug the gray into the white and the blue into the red. So now all of our RCAs are connected. We're just going to tidy that up a little bit, just pull some of that back through. You want to just confirm all of your connections are solid, nothing's going to pull out, and then look over your radio. Ours, the antenna pulled out, so we're going to make sure that's plugged back in. Make sure any microphone, GPS antennas, Maestro adapters, anything like that, everything is plugged back in. And then we can go ahead and set it back into the dash. So now we've got our radio mounted back in. We can go ahead and begin running our speaker wires as well as our RCAs down to underneath the passenger seat. So we need to run our RCAs in speaker line through the glove box and down and get it to where we're going to place our amp. We're going to now run it and get it into this general area, and then we're going to run the power wire and then run everything together to where our amp's going to be. Running the speaker wires and the RCAs can change whether you have other equipment in your vehicle. So I'm going to give you how I would do it. So how I'm going to do it is run it up top. There is a plastic vent that runs this vent for the heat and air conditioning. Run it up top, wire tie it to that, drop down right in this general area. There's an opening between the back of the speaker pod and the lower kick panel. So we're going to run it that way. So first we shall start. We'll start with the speaker wire here. Get it in. Get that pulled down. Leaving some slack, and then we can grab our RCAs and do the exact same thing. So we got our RCAs, get that pulled down through. So now we got everything through. So now we can go ahead, grab our wire ties as well as our cutters and wrap a wire tie around that vent. So we're just wire tying it loosely for now. We will adjust everything at the end. So we'll probably use 2 wire ties here. Okay, so we got both our wire ties. We can slide everything into position. Just kind of get it out of the way. We want to make sure we're out of the way of the glove box opening and closing. So there we go. Just like that. We still have this here. Go ahead and cut our extra wire tie. And then just roll back that. There we go. So now we're down into the kick panel. We're going to run it all up under here. But first, let's go ahead, do our power wire so we can run everything together. To do that, we're going to start underneath the hood. We have everything that we need. We have our power wire, our fuse holder, our cutters, wire ties, wire fish, Allen wrench, and a razor knife, as well as our light. So the easiest way that I've found to run a power wire in a Jeep is just behind the factory wiring here. So what you're going to do is you're just going to gently pull off and push down the wires, and then just right behind this little foam piece, there's a piece of tape covering an opening. You're going to want to take a razor knife or a longer screwdriver, poke a hole directly inside, giving yourself a little bit of an opening to feed your wire fish. So slide that in, and you should be able to feel that slide pretty freely in and out. So from there, we're going to grab our power wire with the side that is not wrapped. We're going to attach that to our wire fish with some electrical tape. Again, when you wrap your tape, you want to wrap it down. So go ahead and get that all done. So now we have that attached. Just gently feed into the vehicle. You may get a little bit of resistance in the initial push through, but then you should be able to feed it all the way down. I'm going to go in on the inside and pull it the rest of the way through. So get it in, then we can go ahead and place that all back on there. And we have an approximate location for where our fuse holder is going to sit. We're going to grab our fuse holder and our Allen set. So once you pull out the terminal lock, stick in your power wire, you can go ahead and tighten the terminal lock, making sure it doesn't come out. We have our fuse holder cover. Put that on. Obviously, we're going to want it to sit so we can see the name. Now, I personally like to wire tie it. We will send you a piece of industrial Velcro if you want to mount it somewhere else. But I'm going to go ahead and attach it to this wire frame using a wire tie. So just get it right where we want it. And go ahead and tighten them down, cutting off any excess. And then just push those up and out of the way. So now we have plenty to go right to our battery, so we can leave that out. I'm going to go inside and just get this pulled the rest of the way in. There we go. Perfect. You do not want to hook your power wire up yet. You want to go ahead, get your amp all set up, get everything plugged in, grounded before we go ahead and hook up power. So let's go inside the Jeep, get our amp all hooked up, then come back out here and hook up the power. So now we need to take care of some wire management. So we need to get some wire ties on the power wire, RCAs, and speaker wire, as well as we can go ahead and remove the tape from our wire fish. So that's all done. Set that to the side. So As far as wire management, one wire tie to hold the speaker wire and the RCAs up at the top here. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this stuff all wire tied. We'll get a wire tie about here, just keeping everything nice and tidy. So we can cut those. So now we're in this general area. We can go ahead, pop off the carpet hold down, lift up the carpet, get our wiring into there. There we go, and just kind of make sure it's where we want it. So we're pretty close. Grab our amplifier and we can place it a couple different ways. You kind of always want to be able to get at your gains and settings so you don't have to pull out the seat each time you want to adjust anything. So you can have it facing this way where you can see it here, have it facing long ways. That's 100% fine. However you would like. I'm actually going to probably leave it facing long ways so I can get at the controls from the back of the seat. So first things first, we want to flip that amp upside down, grab our industrial strength Velcro. If you choose to screw it in, you may, but we suggest you be extremely careful if you're going to go ahead and screw it in. So we're going to get all of our industrial Velcro squares on, but we're not going to mount it down quite yet. So go ahead and flip it back around and we can begin with the wiring process. So we have our power, we have all our speaker wires and remote, we have all three sets of our RCA. The only thing that we are missing is our ground wire. So our ground wire will actually go directly to the factory ground. That's a 10mm bolt right here on the transmission tunnel. Go ahead and pull that off. And we're going to slide our ground underneath that wire, place it on the lug, place the factory ground back, get the nut back on, and get it tightened down. So now all of our wiring that we need to install the amp is right here. One last wire to hook up, and that is our subwoofer cable or subwoofer speaker wire that we need to run to the back towards the hatch. So we're going to go ahead and just cut the zip tie off, get that generally run underneath here, and once we run it and clean up all our wires, we'll be able to make it look pretty. So we have them approximately where they need to go. So now we're good to begin the actual wiring part of the amplifier. So let's go over some of the connection points that we're going to have on our kicker amplifier. First, we will have the ground wire. In the middle is remote. And lastly is 12 volt or battery. Going from the bottom, our first connection we're going to make is left rear positive. So that'll be the green wire. Then we have left rear negative. That will be green with a black stripe. Next will be right rear positive. That'll be the purple wire. And then we have right rear negative. That'll be purple with a black stripe. Now the last and final will be the negative side of the subwoofer wire. That'll be the brown wire. So moving to the top connections, first we have our left front positive. That'll be the white wire. Then we have the left front negative. That'll be white with a black stripe. Next we'll have our right front positive. That'll be the gray wire. And following that, we have the right front negative, which will be gray with a black stripe. And then our final connection will be our positive side of our subwoofer wire. That'll be the yellow wire. So now we've gone over everything. So now let's go wire by wire and get each one of these hooked up. So we're going to start on the bottom, and we're going to start with our left rear positive. So that'll be the green wire. So we'll go ahead, slide the green wire in, get that tightened down. From there, we'll grab our left rear negative, which is green with a black stripe. Slide that in and tighten that down. So that's what that will look like. From there, we can go ahead and grab our purple wire. So that next is our right rear positive, and that's purple. Get that in there. Get that tightened down. And now purple with a black stripe, which is our right rear negative. Get that one installed and tightened down. And then finally, we'll grab our brown wire from our subwoofer wire. Get that one in and tighten down. So to start, this is what it should look like on the bottom row. Green, green with a black stripe, purple, purple with a black stripe, and brown. So now we can move up to the top and get those wires hooked up, starting with left front positive. So that'll be our white wire. We'll go in the first location, tighten that down. Then we'll grab our white with a black stripe. That'll go into the second location. Then we can grab our gray. That'll go into the third location. Gray with a black stripe will go into the fourth. And finally, our yellow wire for our subwoofer positive will go into the final location. Get that tightened down. So that's what it should look like for all your speaker wires. White, white with a black stripe, gray, gray with a black stripe, and yellow for our subwoofer positive. So we have one more wire that needs to be hooked up before we finish with this, and that is our remote wire. So our blue wire that we hooked up behind the head unit, that is what actually turns the amplifier on and off when you turn on and turn off your Jeep. So that will go into the middle location here. Now on this amp, that is a Allen wrench. Go ahead and get that stuck in there and tighten down. And give a little tug, make sure it's not going to come out. You can actually give a little tug on everything, make sure it's not going to come out. So next we will flip the amplifier around and I will show you the RCA input section. And then after we're done that, I'll give you a brief tutorial on how to set your crossover settings for an initial setting before you turn on your radio or anything. So first we'll find our front RCA. So we have white and red. White is left, red is right. So the front left is gray, that will go to the white. The front right is blue and will go into the red. So we have rear left gray, rear right is blue, gray will go to white, blue will go to red. And last but not least, we have our subwoofer, left and right. Gray will go to white, blue will go to red. So now we have all of our RCA connected. We can go over a little bit about what to do with the amplifier. So the first selector button is for your fader front to rear. If you have front and rear speakers, you're going to want to push that to on. The second one is your level input, whether you want low level or high level. Since we have a aftermarket head unit, we're going to leave that out for low level because we're running RCAs. The next is your sub input. So whether we want to run it off of channels 1 and 2 or independently off the sub, we're going to run it independently off the sub so we have our sub control and our head unit. So we're going to go ahead and push that one in. So after we set our subwoofer, we can go to our Amp 1 gain and crossover settings. That's going to be for your front speakers. So we'll set the gain at about 12 o'clock for now using this white dot here. So, and we're maybe going to change it later depending on how we listen to it. So next we have our crossover settings. So this will go from off to 300 Hertz. So we're going to set that at about 11 o'clock or so. That should be somewhere in the 80 to 90 Hertz range that's going to block and not allow through. Moving on to our amp number 2, that will be our rear set of speakers. Same thing, we're going to go ahead and set the gain to about 12 o'clock using that white dot. And then the crossover settings, exact same place, about 11 o'clock. So on the bottom row is our gain and crossover controls for our subwoofer. So in this install, I'm going to use the 12-inch downfiring box. Again, you have your choice of the 12-inch, the 10-inch, or the 8-inch, depending on how much room you have. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and turn my gain to about 1 o'clock. I'm going to turn my crossover on to about 9 o'clock. And I'm going to go ahead and leave bass boost alone for now. I don't want to put too much power through it to start off with. So once we get it all installed and we get that first listen, we'll have a little better understanding of where we need to be. So now RCAs are all plugged in, speaker wires are all plugged in. Now all we have left to do is plug in power and ground, and then we can go hook up the battery and give it a first listen. 2 wires left to hook up, and then we have to run our subwoofer wire to the back. So we'll go ahead and first start with our ground wire, get that run towards the ground part of the amplifier, which is the first one here. And we can slide that in, and then we can go ahead and tighten that down. Making sure it doesn't come out. Next is our power wire. Sliding that in to there. Tightening that one down. Giving it a little tug, just make sure, again, everything is nice and tight. And we can do some wire management after we run our subwoofer wire. So for that, we're going to run back underneath the carpet. So we're going to start from here, go up under the carpet to here, and then around and back up through underneath the rear seat. So we'll get this all untangled. There we go. So from here, just kind of fishing it through. Like such. everything else down. Now we have our sub wire here. We're going to go to the back door and our carpet will come up. We're just going to reach in, continue running it through the back, and continue to pull the whole way through. Making sure our wire stays out of the way of the seat. And then from there, we can go ahead and stick any of the excess up through to the back seat. Pulling it up and then putting everything back down where it should go. We've come to the point to hook up our subwoofer. Again, we've chosen the 12-inch kicker downfire box. So we have the plug on the bottom. There is a red and a black colored push pin. So we're going to go ahead and install our speaker wire from our amplifier. So yellow will go to red, the brown will go to black. So let's go ahead and get our sub wire all hooked up. Again, yellow to red and brown to black. Those are all connected. We can go ahead and roll the sub down gently and get it into position. There we go. Now I have the subwoofer all installed. So next, all I have to do is hook the power wire up underneath the hood, give it a listen and a test, and then put the seat and everything back together in the Jeep. So now we can actually go and hook up our power wire to give our amplifier power. For that, you can use any of the 3 terminal blocks on the positive part of the battery. It's a 10mm nut on each one of those. This very first one is empty, so I'm going to use that one. So remove. Go ahead and place your power wire in and tighten back down. Making sure, yep, see, a little more. So now that's nice and tight. Don't be nervous. You may see a little spark when you hook up your power wire. It's no big deal. It's just the caps inside the amplifier charging. So now that our battery's all hooked up, we can go inside, take a quick listen, make sure we have our balance and fade correct, make sure all of our speakers are playing, as well as our subwoofer. Before we finish and put our Jeep back together, we want to take a listen, check all of our speakers are working, make sure our balance and fade is correct, as well as confirm that our subwoofer is working. So let's go ahead and get that done. So with your music playing, you want to go into your fader and balance, check each speaker independently, put it back in the center, confirm that you have your subwoofer or non-fading pre-out turned on, and then turn that up and down a little bit just to confirm everything's working correctly. So I'm going to go into my settings, check my fader and balance, check my sub. So that's my left front, my left rear, right rear, and the right front. So I have all my speakers working correctly. My subwoofer is on. I have it at about +3. So let me turn it up and make sure everything works. I can definitely hear that my subwoofer's working. So now I'm happy. I can go ahead, put the dash back on, put the seat back in, and then I can give it a final listen, make any adjustments to the gains or the crossovers as necessary, and finish putting the vehicle back together. So now we can go ahead and get our passenger side sill plate on and our glove box. So again, just remember, if these are not in here, double check on the body of the vehicle. Slide in, and we're going to give it a little bend to get it sitting under, just like that. We have our 2 pins. So the first one is here. You might have to kind of pull a little bit of the carpet away or push in and push that down. That one will push down like so, and then just give a push on your kick panel and that'll lock in. We can go ahead and get our glove box in. Same way as before, 2 little hooks and closed. So now our glove box is in. Last thing we have left to put back in is our passenger seat. So now's the time where you need to decide, am I going to have the amp facing back? Am I going to have it facing the side? 100% up to you. Again, I'm going to have ours facing long ways so I can get at the gain controls here. I'm actually not going to adjust any of my gain or crossover settings because I have new speakers and a new subwoofer. I want to give them a chance to break in, and that'll last me a longer time. So now I can just go ahead and remove the adhesive from the industrial Velcro, get that mounted down where I want. I've got my 18mm and my T45. Carefully slide my seat in, setting it down. So go ahead and plug the yellow connector in, making sure you hear that click. Push up on the red tab to lock that in, and then gently place your seat back down and go ahead and get each one of the seat bolts started. And then we'll move to the back, do the exact same thing. All right, now we want to make sure we line up our holes, get each seat bolt started by hand. And then we can go ahead and bolt them down. So those are done. You can see we have full access to our gain controls of the amplifier. So now let's slide that seat back, bolt the front bolts in, and put on the seat belt bolt. Go ahead and slide that seat back. Bolt in your 2 seat bolts for the front. Then we'll just slide our seat up just a little bit to go ahead and get access for our seat belt bolt. So now we just want to pull it back, pull out our bolt that we left in there. Now there is a small tab that slides into the seat like such. Start that by hand and then go ahead and tighten. Now that's tightened, it's not going to go anywhere. We can slide our seat back and put our headrest back in. So now we've got our Jeep completely put back together. It's time to put this new 5-channel amp bundle through its paces. That's a huge difference adding an amplifier over just an aftermarket radio. The Kicker 8-speaker bundle that was already installed in this Jeep, now paired with our brand new Kicker 5-channel amplifier and subwoofer bundle, what a difference. I have better mid-bass, clearer tweeters, and I finally have a subwoofer with deep, hard-hitting bass. So if you have any questions or are looking to purchase either of these bundles, please visit us at bantamoverland.com, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and as always, have a blast out there.